Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 227. And in today's episode, we're going to continue our journey into receiving feedback. And on this one, we're going to focus on the deconstructive feedback. Many times we focus on the constructive feedback, what we can do better. Things are things are pretty clear for the most part when it comes to constructive feedback. Focus on the following things. I think you spent too much time here. It's uh, it's very specific with constructive feedback. That doesn't mean that we always want to hear what the feedback is, but we at least understand the person's perspective and have a game plan to move forward. Um, a friend of mine recently called me and asked me to talk about the deconstructive feedback. What happens when you receive feedback that's really vague and you continue to ask for clarification and it still is very vague? So when something is vague, you can't really put an action step to it. So I have had this a couple times in my career. One that stands out to me is that I did a training course. I won't go over the topic. Person said I didn't like the course. Said, oh, what aspect? I just didn't. Was it the length? Was it the topic? You know, maybe my voice was bothering you. Like what was it that this training topic, training event was so awful? And the guy really couldn't say anything except for, I just didn't like it. And I get it, you're not going to please everybody. But that's a really hard step because now, of course, you obviously see this person and you want to understand that feedback. And for me, what I want to understand is I want to understand it from the person's perspective. You know, was it that you were just you had too much work to do and you weren't really focused on the topic, and thus you thought it was just a waste of time? I mean, what was it as part of not liking it? You know, another one that stands out to me, not the same topic. A couple of years after, um, a guy came up to me and said, "Test was too hard." I said, "Hard? Okay, well, let's sit down and talk about areas I can improve on and cover better." He's like, "That part was fine. The test was just hard." I was trying to understand his perspective because he got 100 on the test. So I'm like, "So are you saying that you had to guess on a few?" He was like, "No, I found them all. I could do it." And that makes it really hard to put yourself in the person's shoes because they really can't tell you what made it hard. They did awesome on the test, answered everything right, didn't have to even guess. I mean, sometimes I do have to guess, so I am shocked when I get 100 because I guess right. Um, so there are times that you're going to get this deconstructive feedback, and so what I like to do is to try and peel back the onion and just ask the person ask them for a practical example. Help me to understand something I said, I did, part of the topic, so I can then better um, address the issue from your perspective. And sometimes regardless of the different tactics and the ways of asking and trying to figure it out, I just can't get the person to say what it was. And so there are going to be those times that you get feedback and you really don't know what to do with it. It took me a long time to get it in my head that even though the feedback is there, sometimes it's off topic and off base. I like all feedback because I know that there is truth in it. You know, I just have to understand the truth. But sometimes when you get this feedback, it doesn't mean that the person actually didn't like it. It doesn't mean that the test wasn't hard for them. They're just really having trouble voicing it in a way that they can tell you, and sometimes maybe they don't even understand it themselves. They just know that you ask for feedback and they gave you feedback, but they're not really sure either. So at this point, I think I'm just kind of rambling on, but there will be times when you probably can sit back and say, I choose to accept this or I choose not to accept this. And then the same thing that if you get feedback and a lot of it's awesome and great and all that, and you get that one person that's really just negative, world is coming to an end and all that. So that doesn't mean that their feedback is not valid. It's just something that you just can't do any action on, and it's hard because many times, I thank them for their feedback. Um, and a lot of times I just tell them that given the feedback you gave me, there is no action step for me, you know. And a lot of times I give them a couple days. I'll kind of follow up just to kind of see if maybe they thought about it any. Um, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So to wrap things up, there will be times when you get feedback that you're not really sure how to execute the next step. You're not sure how to get better. You're not sure how to change anything. I understand that we're not going to 100% satisfy everybody. Um, and it's really hard to go forward. So, with that, I'm going to wrap up episode number 227, where we talked about deconstructive feedback. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. My name is Dr. David Ayers. Thank you, and have a safe day.